Mr. Fight, I want to ask you the same question I asked you in 2003.
John Fight?
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Christine Galvan.
Did you kill Irene Garza, Mr. Fight?
Did you kill Irene Garza, Mr. Fight?
You slammed the door in my face back then.
First, let us look into the tragic murder of a beauty queen that haunted the murderer for 6 decades. You might have heard of Beauty and the Beast. Well, let me introduce you to Beauty and the Priest. This tragic tale has no happy ending, not that any murder case ever truly does. The story, however, is made more heartbreaking by the gross abuse of power by a priest, the cover-up performed by the clergy protecting him while denying Irene Garza justice. Irene Garza was a 25-year-old former beauty queen who was employed as a teacher. She was a devout Christian, attending the Sacred Heart Catholic Church located in McAllen, Texas, which was a mere 12 streets away from her home. On the night that was to be her last, the beloved young lady had gone to give a confession at the church. In the rectory priest house, she met with a 27-year-old priest who heard her confession. After that, she allegedly departed and entered the church itself, according to him. She was never seen again after that. What happened? Her shoe was discovered in a field, and her pocketbook was retrieved after her family alerted the police. Her body was found in a canal a few days later. The scene was heart-wrenching. Her hands were tied with flex, but it was something else found in the scene that firmly put the priest in the spotlight. A handheld slide projector was found near the body, a projector known to belong to him. When he was brought in for questioning, it was noted that he had visible marks and scratching, indicating he had been in a struggle. Although the police photographed the marks on his body, they seem to have been unwilling to pursue him as a suspect. In a baffling act of misconduct, officers with close ties and loyalties to Father Fight and the church were assigned to the case. While investigations were supposedly still ongoing, Fight was allowed to relocate to a monastery. There he was to be under the supervision and guidance of a monk named Dale Tashney. Tashney would later go on to testify against the priest. When Dale Tashney finally came forward, he expressed regret for not reporting Fight to the police when he was informed in 1963. He claimed that he didn't think it was his position to do so. Although disturbed by the situation, Tashney said he was just following instructions. It was in 2002 when his conscience would finally get the better of him and he called the police. He called cops and informed them about Fight's remarks. According to Tashney's statement to police, it was in the rectory that Fight assaulted Ms. Garza. He chained her and wrapped her in cellophane at one point. Fight told Tashney the young woman said, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe." Fight returned to find her dead where he had left her. She had also been raped, according to the coroner's report. To cover up his crime, Fight sold her belongings and hired a car to aid him in the disposal of the corpses. Following Tashney's statement, a prosecutor would try to bring charges against Fight, but it would prove futile given the passage of time. The significant part is that he was in court in 1961, accused of assaulting another woman. He was on the verge of being convicted of assault with the intent to rape. The jury was unable to reach a decision. In the end, he pled guilty to aggravated assault, which was a lower crime. Because of this, it is impossible to state that the church was unaware of his abusive and depraved nature. He was the last person to see Ms. Garza alive. This they knew. They also knew he admitted to owning the projector discovered near her corpse. They realized they had a dangerous individual among them in 1961, yet they allowed him to roam free. Why do people protect criminals when they have a moral obligation to expose them? Tashney remained silent for over 4 decades. He let a guy capable of killing women wander the streets for 40 years. Because of this, it is impossible to state that the church was unaware of his abusive and depraved nature. Tashney further claims that the church's instructions included an apparent reference to Fight killing a lady. Furthermore, a priest named O'Brien states that Fight informed him he killed Ms. Garza. Ricardo Rodriguez, the Hidalgo district attorney, was elected in 2014. He had stated that he would renew the investigation.
Tonight, a murderer learned that he will finally pay for his sins.
Former priest John Fight waiting tonight to start his prison sentence.
Justice prevailed. and now Irene Garza can finally rest in peace.
There was finally some movement. Fite died in jail in 2020, where he had been since his 2016 conviction. He was 86 years old when his heart stopped beating.
John Fite did get a chance to live his life. He got married, moved to Arizona, and became a grandpa. But he never escaped his past.
Fite had attempted to abuse another lady in a church not far from McAllen, but she had resisted him. Are religious cover-ups fair? Did this judgment bring justice? We don't think so. Delayed justice is equal to justice denied.
Solved a 31-year-old murder case. Fawn Cox was just 16 years old, and tonight we know the person responsible for her rape and murder was her own cousin.
Are you guys ready to see the next cold case? Fawn Cox was found dead in her bed. Her murderer was discovered using DNA 31 years later. In Kansas City, it was a hot, humid night. Fawn Cox, 16 years old, worked late at the Worlds of Fun amusement park. Fawn had gone directly to bed when her mother Beverly had picked her up and brought her home at 11 p.m. Fawn's younger sisters, Amber and Felisa, usually slept upstairs with her, but she was the only one on the upper floor on that sweltering night. Someone broke into the home through an upstairs window, maybe by climbing on top of a pickup vehicle, and raped and strangled Fawn in her bed during the night. Her bedspread was stained with sperm. Her siblings below had not heard anything. Their powerful air conditioner muted any noise coming from above. And when the family dog became upset, they chalked it up to her being pregnant. Fawn's alarm went off at 9:30 a.m. the following day to get her ready for work. Beverly and Felisa walked upstairs to investigate what was happening when she didn't turn it off. I walked up to shake her hand and said, "Come on, get up," Felisa said. However, she had been gone for some time. It was July 26, 1989, in the morning.
Relief. There's closure. The answers aren't always what we were asking for, but there's closure.
Fawn was a high school student who had received her learner's permit. She went to church with her family daily. Her bereaved father, John, found solace in his family's faith. Knowing that I'll be able to spend the rest of eternity with her someday is the only thing that keeps us together, her father told a local newspaper. The incident stunned Kansas City, but it appeared to be solved swiftly. Instead, 3 adolescents were detained in August, according to authorities. A grand jury indicted one person for first-degree murder, rape, and sodomy. He was imprisoned for 8 months before being freed when DNA tests revealed no substantial evidence linking him to the murder. The other 2 adolescents' charges were also withdrawn. Police kept on the investigation and pursued every clue, but they came up empty-handed. However, Fawn's family was adamant about not giving up. They pushed the cops to employ DNA testing in Fawn's case every time they learned of a breakthrough in the field. They solicited donations and interacted with the media. They purchased billboards that were placed across Kansas City. Fawn also was not forgotten by the community. Monty Clark, a bus driver who had previously worked for Fawn's church, assisted with fundraising and spent 20 years attempting to solve the case independently. He told Northeast News everyone was close-knit and everyone was trying to figure out why. Who and why.
This is what every investigator, every detective works for, is this day when they can sit down with a family member of a murder victim and tell them that definitively who is responsible for their loved one's death. It doesn't bring that person back. In this case, we don't even get to bring that person to justice because they died years.
When a search of the Combined DNA Index System, a database containing the DNA of every offender in the United States, yielded no results, police were frustrated. Sergeant Benjamin Caldwell told the Kansas City Star in 2017 that whoever killed her either has never been prosecuted with a criminal or is no longer living. People don't start killing and then stop as if they're vanished from the face of the planet. So Fawn's family and friends began fundraising for another billboard, 30 years after her death, by hosting raffles and competitions. "Do you know who killed me?" read the billboard, which included a large shot of Fawn's face. It offered a $10,000 prize for information leading to homicide. "We know that someone out there is having a regular life," Felisa told. She never had the opportunity to grow up and accomplish the things we do now. Amber maintained tabs on what was being said about the case on the internet. When she saw a true crime website post about Fawn's murder, she would thank the individual for caring and invite them to give their actual identity if they had any information that may aid the police. Amber admitted to being obsessed with her sister's death at the local TV station. She said, "I ended up in the hospital because I was so overwhelmed." However, she claimed she had always admired Fawn. "I aspired to be like her. She was my defender." When advanced genetic genealogy testing became available, Kansas City cops refused to utilize it because it was too expensive. However, the FBI began paying for the tests. The case was solved in a matter of weeks. Authorities ultimately disclosed the name of Fawn's killer on November 11, 2020, over 30 years later. Donald Cox Jr., her cousin, was the culprit. Sadly, he had passed away in 2006 of a heroin overdose. The medical examiner had investigated the deceased and saved a blood sample because it was suspicious. Fawn's parents were sad, yet relieved. They claimed they had questioned if Donald had murdered her. The revelation, Felisa told, gave her closure. The answers aren't always what we expected, but they provide closure. Cold cases are a nightmare for most law enforcers, yet those cases may be solved. Do you want to know about decades-old cold cases? Then our video is for you. Please leave a like and subscribe to our channel to see more fascinating videos.